Providing finance advice on WMAC since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherry Goss, and Randy Goss. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions or comments. And now live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Morning. Welcome to Your Money on this beautiful Saturday morning. A little nippy, but it's going to be a beautiful day.
Beautiful day.
So, good day to get out and do whatever you have to do.
So did you see that during the presidential debate, what people were searching on Google? How to move to Canada. That was the number one search during the debate.
Really?
What is it? How to apply for Canadian citizenship skyrocketed about an hour into the yelling match. And so...
I was born in Canada.
I know.
I'm a U.S. citizen, but I could...
You could go back.
Yeah. I might still be some countries you can be like...
Dual? That's what our kids are both, dual of Spain, because they were born there.
Yeah. So I'm dual, too.
So I was driving home the other day, is after this debate debacle, and I happened to have the station on, and Mark Levin was on, who I do not normally listen to, but he was talking about the 2012 debate between Biden and Paul Ryan. And he had gone through the entire debate and narrowed it down to only when Paul Ryan opened his mouth and started speaking what it was like. And every time he opened his mouth to speak, Joe Biden spoke over him. Every sentence. The whole time. It was an absolute insanity. And so Mark Levin has this thing, and it's just the clips of the beginning of each sentence. And so Trump knew about it, so he went in with guns blazing, which is why this thing was such a disaster.
Oh, really?
He was going to try to be louder and tougher than Paul. Paul Ryan was really nice and would say, like, oh, can you please let me talk? Can you please let me talk? Can you please let me talk? The whole time. And then Biden would just keep railroading over him and laughing at him and making stupid comments, and it was just a joke. And that's why this was such a mess. And that makes total sense, because who would go in and create such a nightmare in the front of 90 million people?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I didn't watch it. I'm glad I didn't watch it. I would have just made my head hurt. But anyways, and the IRS has finally cashed my check I wrote in March. Wow. So they are processing paper returns. They cashed it this week.
Really?
Yep. October. They've been sitting in a warehouse since March. So if you
see if mine is checked.
So if you send in a paper return and you're waiting for your refund, not only will you get your refund because they're processing it, but they're going to pay you interest on holding your money, which is good.
Yeah.
First time that's ever happened. So what's on top of your stack?
So that was the refund that you would get, or was that your quarterly?
No, the check I sent in with my tax return in March, they finally cashed this week.
See, I'm just carrying over the.
But it's good to know they're at least working.
Yeah, I guess if you want.
Department of Labor is still not working. They're still not answering the phone or responding to emails. I still have people that never got unemployment calling me. No. There is nowhere to go for help. All you can do is go to the library and use a computer. If you don't have one, that's all you can do. There is no help. I just don't understand why they can't take phone calls from home. That's really, really got me upset, because there's a lot of people that were left behind in this whole thing and that never got anything. Tons of people. What you got?
Okay, so here, you know what supplement that Dr. Fauci takes to keep immune system healthy?
Vitamin D3.
Vitamin D.
And that's what they're giving Trump. And that's what I've been talking about for all year. You got to look at your blood levels, though, of your D. You can't just take it and think it's enough, because everybody's different. I've met people that are taking 10,000 units a day. That's what they have to take to get to that level.
Yeah.
I'm taking 2,000 units a day. But you pull your blood work and see if it's on there. And if it's not, ask your doctor if they can test for it. Because what I've read is it needs to be 60 or greater to be for you to be immune to these viruses. No guarantee, but if you're healthy, I mean, I've been taking it for 4 years because I don't want the flu.
Researchers at the University of Chicago Medicine recently found a link between vitamin D deficiencies and the likelihood of being infected with COVID-19.
This has been around for years. This has been known for years.
Vitamin D is important to the function of the immune system, and vitamin D supplements have previously been shown to lower the risk of viral respiratory tract infections, according to the chief of hospital medicine at the University of Chicago Medicine.
Here's the other thing. If you're a dark-skinned person, you don't absorb it from the sun as well as a light-skinned person, and so you're even in worse shape. And there's a study, I think I talked about this already, that they've done over in Europe, where they looked at the COVID cases and the deaths and the severity of the cases, and people with the lowest D in their blood had the worst cases. People with the highest D had the least serious cases, like it was hardly like a cold.
He also said that vitamin C is a good antioxidant. So people want to take a gram or two at the most of vitamin C, that would be fine. Vitamin C contributes to immune defense by supporting various cellular functions, another study showed.
And then the other thing, I was talking to someone this week, and I was reading that zinc, as soon as you feel that you have symptoms, that if you start taking zinc, it helps your body fight it off. I don't know how that works, but I'm going to go buy some. I'm going to buy some lozenges. I just have them in my desk.
Just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else?
He said the so-called immune-boosting supplements didn't really help people unless they had some sort of deficiency. In fact, a lot of these herbs either do nothing, or if you take too much, it can harm you, according to Fauci.
Well, that's why you need to look at your blood work. Is that it?
That's it for the old doc.
Okie dokie. So CNBC had an article this morning about what if Biden wins and how does that affect the stock market. And Jim Cramer, in fact, had an article about the debate and talking about how he was relieved that during the debate, neither party pounded on the healthcare sector. They also didn't pound on the banking sector. They were optimistic about a cure for the COVID, and let me see. I was certain both candidates would spend a big chunk of time bashing China, except for the usual China virus stuff from the president. Neither tried to outdo each other in taking shots at the Chinese, because there's a lot of big tech firms in partnership with China doing a lot of deals, and so it doesn't look like those are going to get pounded. So he was relieved. You know, it's nice to see somebody who's taking something positive away from this craziness. And then they say if Biden is elected, one of the big things he's still sticking to is higher capital gains tax rates from 20 to about 40%, and taxing all the removing all the tax breaks that Trump gave to corporations. But he's mostly about taxes, and he wants green energy. He wants to do away with oil. And what else? Anyways, this history teaches us that this is the worst possible moment to subject the economy to the type of massive tax increases that Biden is proposing.
That's true.
So, anyways, if you want to call and participate in the show, the number is 742-0940.
So here's an article by Grover Norquist,
Mm-hmm.
the president of the American for Tax Reform, something like that. He said, in Tuesday's debate, President Trump mentioned the greatest gift to American people, but if you blinked, you might have missed it. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs, he said. Then he added, crucially, it also means 401ks. The point hits home among millions of Americans with savings and tax-advantaged investment vehicle who watch their retirement funds rise in the pandemic stock surge. On stage, Joe Biden had nothing to say to this point, but in a Pennsylvania town hall this month, he poo-pooed the stock market as a concern of only the distant rich. All that Trump can see from Park Avenue is Wall Street, he said. All he thinks about is the stock market and telling them we're going to do all right and everybody owns stock. How many of you own stock in Scranton? In my neighborhood in Scranton, not a whole hell of a lot of people own stock. Mr. Biden's critique might have made sense if he began his political career, but today more than 100 million people, 100 million Americans save in 401ks, up from 19 million in 1990.
And that's not counting the people with IRAs and Roths and SEPs and all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's what he's really talking about. And then you got the 403Bs, the college savings plans, you got all that stuff.
Right.
And this growing investor class is increasingly aware. They receive frequent reports and can check their statements online any time to see how their savings have grown, fallen, or rebounded. They watch the Trump presidency drive up the value of their life savings. Wealth is a slur to the left. If you ask ordinary Americans not about their wealth, but about their savings in a 401k, many can tell you the value to the penny. Skeptics argue that the market's performance matters only to investors with the biggest stakes, but that's an argument that's getting things backwards. Younger Americans just beginning to save in IRAs or 401ks have even greater interest in pro-growth economic policies. They have more years to reap the benefits.
And I will tell you that our kids are much smarter and much more interested in the stock market than I was at their age because of the apps and because of the internet and because they like going out and searching and looking at valuation, and they're paying attention to the technology and all the shifts that are going on in our culture, and things like, they use things like PayPal, and they use things that maybe older people don't even use. So to me, they're more engaged and want to pick individual stocks. And look at that what is that Robinhood app? They say that there's a bazillion young people on that using it and picking stocks and even doing option trades.
Yeah.
So he's kind of off base on that.
Yeah, he's totally off base. President Grover goes on. President Trump's tax cuts, deregulation, energy policies, and appointment of self-restrained judges have put Americans on a faster course toward savings growth. On Election Day 2016, the last day when many Americans in Wall Street believed that we would be living under Obama-style policies, the S&P stood at 2140. By February, it's at 3385. So your retirement. So if you put your retirement in the S&P during that period of time, you made a lot of money. And when you're saving money, you want the volatility. You want the ups and downs, because when the market drops, you get lower prices. And so instead of doing what a lot of people do is when the market drops, they just take their money out. So you're getting out at low, and then it goes back up, you feel better, and you get in at a higher price. You don't make money that way. And so, no idea. He says there's no idea proposed by the Democratic Party that will increase the value of your savings. Makes sense?
Yeah. So last week I mentioned something about the VA, and I was missing some information, so I'm going to be real quick about this. There's two really important things. There's this thing called presumptive disability benefits. If you were, and I can email this to you, if you email me at Sherry, SHERRI, at rfmoney.com, I will scan and email these things to you so you don't have to look them up, because they are hard to find on the website for some reason. It's just crazy to me that this should be so easy for people to get to this document, and it's not. So this 2-page document lists who is eligible for presumptive disability, and it says, here's an example. If you served continuously for at least 90 days and are diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, after discharge, you can establish service connection for the disease. Explain that. That is new. That's just recent years they've added that. And when they were medically retiring Randy, they told us they were seeing cases of MS and ALS off the charts. Yeah. So people don't know this. You only had to serve 90 days. And if you're diagnosed with that, you have a service-connected disability, and you will get a rating and you will get a check. So I'll give you another example. Let's say you were in Vietnam. I'm just going to throw out some of the most common things. Type 2 diabetes, Hodgkin's disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, peripheral neuropathy. And then there's a couple of other, a couple of skin things, but there's a list for POWs, there's a list for Vietnam veterans, a list for atomic veterans, and a list for Gulf War veterans. Gulf War veterans with fatigue, skin symptoms, headaches, muscle pain, joint pain, neurological symptoms, sleep disturbance, GI symptoms. These papers stick together. Cardiovascular symptoms, weight loss, and menstrual disorders. And what they don't have on here is the burn pit registry. So if someone in your family went to Afghanistan like our daughter and her husband did, they were both at bases where they had burn pits. where once a week they take everything out of the latrines, they take all the kitchen waste, they take all the paper waste, they take all the trash from the entire basin, they dump it in this big hole in the middle of the base, and then somebody gets in there and pours jet fuel all over it and they light it. And everybody's breathing it. No one has masks on. Everyone is breathing this stuff. And we had an employee, her husband was over there so many times that he was getting out after 20 years, and he qualified for disability benefits, and they told him, you will have lung cancer.
Wow.
You will. That's what's going on out there. So you need to look out for your people, because the VA is not mailing you anything about this. Unless you go out and do your own digging around, you will not know. The second thing is the aid and attendance pension. So there's a long-term care benefit if you're a veteran, if you're a retired veteran from the military. It's called aid and attendance, and I had a client who is getting paid because he was a full-time caregiver for his wife, and he's a veteran, and he was getting a check every month because he was the caregiver. So if you went into a nursing home, this could possibly pay for that. But there are now limits. There's an asset test. And so if you have over a certain amount of assets, over a certain amount of income, and it's complicated, and I can send this to you too, and you can read it. But anyways, and now they've just passed a regulation as of October 1 that covers more people under this. So if you have any interest in all of this, I've got all the pages here. I'm not going to go over them on the air, but if you want them, just shoot me an email, and I will scan and send them to you. And then you can also call the VA, what's the 1000 number, where you can actually talk to somebody in the benefits department, and they can explain how things work to you. And I've found that to be kind of hit or miss, but they try really hard, because you can't always trust what the local people tell you about these benefits, because they don't understand that there's an asset test. They think everybody can get it, and that's not how this works anymore. They changed the rules in 2018.
That's good.
All right.
As long as the people at the VA know that.
The people at the main people know, at the 1000 number know.
Okay. Anyway, so we get these notices from the regulatory authorities about certain things, and we're regulated by two primary organizations: the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, which is a self-regulating authority. And so this one says, here's the headline: "Don't fall for crypto-related stock scams." Now, I can't talk about cryptocurrency, and I'm not going to talk about cryptocurrency, because this is really good for any type of a stock scam. So, and this comes right from the regulatory agencies, especially in today's hot, what I can't say, environment. It's easy for companies or their promoters to make glorified claims about new products and services and other related connections. And even when legitimate companies flock to hot new sector, fraudsters almost always follow suit, exploiting the news to launch their latest frauds du jour. So follow these tips to avoid costly mistakes. Do not say yes to any stock purchase from an aggressive cold caller. So somebody calls you on the phone, and they got this hot stock that you need to buy.
Hang up.
Don't say you're not interested. Just hang up the phone. I would like to say the next tone you hear will be the dial tone. And then, even if the claims sound plausible, particularly if the recommended stocks if they're very low price. So don't feel guilty about hanging up, because that person doesn't care about you. You don't have to care about him. Not answering at all or putting down the phone are generally the best and safest responses to a cold caller or any aggressively pitching low-price stocks or other investments. Be suspect of anyone who makes guarantees that an investment will perform a certain way, or makes pushy sales pitches that encourage you to act now. Use the FINRA broker check. That's a website to check the registration of the person who called you, if you want to go that far. You can check on the SEC Edgar database to find out if the company files with the SEC. There's a number of things you can do. But the point is, the thing about this business is that if you're not in it, like we're in it, if you're not in it, you're not regulated by anybody. If you write a newsletter, you're not regulated at all. And you got First Amendment says you can say anything. They can say this stock's going to go up 120%. And that's
how they sell newsletters.
Yeah, and and everybody's got all these things, and they got all these great. If you would have bought this, did you buy this when we said to buy this? They do that all the time, which is totally meaningless, because nobody's going to pick only winners. So they pick their winners. They're not going to tell you about the time that the stock they recommended went down the tubes. So just do your research and find out, but don't take any calls.
The one that really got me is during the recession, the gold sellers, the gold coin people were out in mass. They were on TV because I was still going to the gym back then, and I would watch TV while I was on the treadmill. And it was like every other commercial was buy gold, call us today, best prices, you can never lose money. And it's like, how can you say that? How can it be legal that they say that when it's obvious you can lose money? The valuation changes all the time. And it's back now. I've met people that are kind of into the end times, like they think this is a sign of the end times. And there are people out there selling to those people because they think the world's coming to an end. Well, gold is not, it's only worth what people are willing to pay for it. You have to be really careful about people who are selling stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Especially the people that aren't regulated. And you stick an actor on there. You stick William Devane on, if he's still alive, was doing all that stuff, for gold and stuff like that.
Right.
What's he know about anything? He's an actor, and he's a really good actor. Or he was a good actor. I don't know if he's around. But, that's just the way, they're just getting paid to say it. They're spokespeople. Right. People do commercials to get paid. That doesn't mean they like the product. That doesn't mean the product works. It means nothing. They need a paycheck. They'll say whatever they have to say. Look at Bill O'Reilly. He's with some investment firm now, and I wouldn't believe Bill O'Reilly was here if he was standing in front of me. I wouldn't believe a word he said. But what's he know about all this stuff?
Right.
Anyway, 7420940 is the number. Good morning. You're on Your Money with Sherry and Steve.
Good morning. How you all doing today?
We're doing great. How are you?
Doing fine.
Good.
I will discuss about the money today. The banks that are charging you for using their bank,
right?
The service charge. Now, Wells Fargo, they used to have you purchase 10 items during the month as far as not to have a service charge. And so I guess I used to go and buy 10 bananas or something like that at one time and prevent from getting that service charge. So I guess they caught up with that. And so now they are saying instead of you being not charged a service charge, now you will have to have a $500 a month in your checking account at all time or something. So that would be another way to prevent from not having a service charge. But also these banks that first come out, they're giving free checking accounts, and they are not really giving free checking accounts because after a few months or years, they're going to start charging you. So I just wanted to call you today, advise the people that if they want to prevent from losing their money on service charge, just like you said, they have a minimum balance that they want to charge the folks, keep their amount in that account.
So
so not only are they not paying interest, they're charging you to
just hold their money.
So
where do you bank?
Well, I don't want to call a name because I don't want to give them credit because I don't like them that much because, like I said, they are charging. First they tried to get me into their bank by saying there's no service charge, and then after a few months they did start charging you a service charge. So I don't want to give them any credit as far as saying that they free checking. Of course, like I said, they do give away prizes for you to get customers in there. If they sign up, they'll give you maybe a appliance or something, and for you to get other people to sign up with them. But again, they're telling them that there will be a free checking, and you be thinking that it will be free, but later on they're going to start charging you. So that's not really, it's just false advertising to me. I don't want to call their name and get them any credit.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
So
great.
the place I go to look for stuff like this is Clark.com, because Clark Howard has a whole team and they update their information constantly. And so if you're looking for a bank that doesn't charge you a service charge for a certain level of whatever, that's where I would go look. That's where I look for. If people ask me about where to find the best credit card, that's where I go, because he has people that are just constantly looking at this kind of the consumer stuff and constantly updating his website, and it's great information. It's all free. Clark.com.
I was looking for CDs online to see what the rates are, and
Yep.
most of the rates are not, like nothing.
0.29%.
So if you're lucky. But anyway, I found one that was like 3% FDIC insured, and I said, there's no way in the world that you're going to have a 3% CD paying.
So what's the catch?
It's a fraud.
Oh.
Because it had.
So
to
were
be.
you looking?
I just went on the internet. I just went on the internet.
Don't go to Clark.com. Go to some real website. If you just search, you're going to find just trash.
Well, I just wanted to see what was out there.
Well, now you did.
But I said in essence, this got to be a fraud, because there's no way in the world that anybody's paying 3.5% in this.
Wow.
Market. I mean, they're paying 0.6% and 0.2% and stuff like that now. I mean, the rates are like nothing.
Right. So somebody called last week and asked about when the banks report money going into your accounts and money coming out of your accounts. So here is the bottom line of this thing. Federal law requires your bank to report to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network if you engage in certain transactions, even if you mean no harm, due to terrorist concerns and money laundering issues. The U.S. Department of Treasury, not the IRS, requires banks to report deposits and withdrawals of $10,000 or more from any savings account. Multiple withdrawals totaling $10,000 or more also are required to be reported if they occur on the same day. Financial institutions must report the purchase of traveler's checks or money orders, as well as cash purchases of more than $3,000. FinCEN also instructs banks to be observant of signs for structuring, behavior that might indicate someone is trying to get around the usual reporting rules. For example, you might withdraw $6,000 in cash before you're leaving for a vacation. Unaware that you've done so, your spouse might do the same thing a few hours later. But this innocent mistake would trigger a report because the two withdrawals total more than $10,000 for the same account, even though two separate people did them. FinCEN exempts some commercial and retail accounts for reporting requirements. If you own such a business and you're unsure if you qualify for exemption, consult with your bank or an attorney to find out where you stand. So that's the deal on that. So it says transactions of less than $2,000 don't typically trigger reporting, but unless you're doing something sketchy like trying to bribe the teller or admit to a crime, and then they might call somebody. The security guard might show up.
But in this day and age, it's not, 10,000 is not that much for a lot of transactions.
Right.
It used to be,
It'd be a real hassle. I'm sure they've got some software that just automated.
It's all automated. Yeah. They don't call up and say, "Hey, Sherry just moved $10,000 out of her account. You better follow her." So I don't know. I'm looking on Clark's site. There's nothing about
banks,
CDs. Cell phones, your credit cards, insurance, invest and retire, streaming TV deals.
Did you go in the search bar and put it in on top?
No.
That's what you have to do. So go into Clark.
You mean where it says, what are you looking for?
You type it in there.
CD rates.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'll talk about something else. So the people stealing packages off your front porch is off the charts. And everybody's trying to figure out a workaround. In our neighborhood that we used to live in, I get an email at least twice a year where they have a rash of this, of somebody following a FedEx truck around and just as soon as the FedEx truck turns the corner, they run up on the porch and grab the package and run off with it. So you may not realize that there are Amazon pickup locations all over the place. There's an Amazon Hubs counter near you at the Monster Self Storage on Fagan Mill. That big storage unit that just went up?
Yeah.
So there's an Amazon Hub Center. So you can have your packages shipped there and then go there and pick them up instead of having them at Spitz. It'd be really good if you're not home. If you're working all the time. Anyways, and I thought it was interesting that GNC has partnered with Amazon. They have a location in Bonaire. They have one in Macon. And two in Macon, actually, that you can go to the GNC store, which they probably see it as a positive, as people walking in the store, and maybe they'll buy something while they're there, while they're picking up their Amazon package. So you don't have to have stuff coming to your house, sitting on your porch and getting stolen. And if you want that, I can scan that and send it to you. What you got?
I'm still looking.
You're still on Clark.com?
Yeah, because I mean he's got he does it doesn't. It just talks about CDs. He doesn't have anything about rates. He said, 1 year, 1 year CDs are paying 1%. 5 years are paying 2.28%.
Okay, but he doesn't tell you where.
Well, there's links to all these other sites that have stuff like that. So there's a lot of those links. Highest CD rates. That's the first one. View top CD rates.
So I'm on his website. Best online banks, free checking and high interest savings accounts. That's Clark.com article from September 2020.
Yeah, so here's one which is Marcus Bank, which is part of Goldman Sachs, and they're paying 0.85% now. And this is highly legitimate.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Oh, we got a phone call. Saved by the phone.
Woo! Good morning. You're on your money.
Good morning. Just go to bankrate.com.
Oh, yeah, that's the other
Bankrate.
site. Yeah, I was trying to remember that. Thank you so much.
Would you like to do the show?
That's where I always send people. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
Good job.
You got it now.
Good.
Great. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bankrate.
So the U.S. is starting to forgive the PPP loans, and this came out on September 29th. So it says the SBA will begin forgiving loans granted to small business owners under the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. They announced on Tuesday the government expects to approve and pay forgiveness requests by late this week or early next. The applications are generally expected to be approved quickly, with the exception of loans above $2 million. About $130 billion remains in unallocated PPP funding since the program expired last month. I don't understand why that money is sitting there and they haven't done anything. Lawmakers have yet to come to terms on how it should be used for additional small business relief. The key policy under discussion is allowing small businesses hit particularly hard by the crisis to receive second PPP loans, a step that would require their first loans to be forgiven. Separately, lawmakers in both the House and Senate have introduced legislation to streamline the forgiveness for PPP loans of less than $150,000, granting blanket forgiveness to borrowers with the simple attestation that the funds were used in accordance with guidelines. So call your lender if you took one of these out and talk to them about the rules on this. And if you never qualified for one, you've got to get your books in order in case we go through another one of these deals, because unless you can show, you need to be able to prove what you paid in payroll. You need to be able to show your business income and expenses. You need to have that in documents. You can't just be a cash business floating along and be able to get any help if you can't prove that you have a legitimate business or a nonprofit. What else?
The rates are still horrible.
You're still on that? Did you go to bankrate.com?
Yeah, it's got Marcus 0.85 for 1 year, and then it's got like a couple for 1%, but that's 5 years, and you don't want to lock in a low rate for 5 years because eventually rates are going to go back up.
Right.
So you lock in rates when they're high. You take long term when they're high, and you take short term when they're low. So stay low.
So I had a client call. Her dad opened a Roth for her when she was young, and she's now working, getting married, looking at buying a house. And so she called me, and she put $3,000 into this Roth, and I invested it, and it's now worth $10,000. And so she said, hey, could I take this money out and use it as a down payment on a house? And so I looked up the regulations, and she has to be a first-time home buyer, which she is. And so I had to email. I was all over the internet. I was at irs.gov. I couldn't get to the bottom of it. So I emailed my CPA about it to make sure I was on the right track. And the bottom line is she has to have had the account open for at least 5 years. The amount she contributed can be withdrawn tax-free and penalty-free. That's never changed. It's always been that way. If she has not owned any home during the past 2 years, she is a first-time home buyer. If she withdraws earnings in excess of contributions, she'll pay income tax on that, but may avoid the 10% penalty, assuming the earnings withdrawn do not exceed $10,000, which is her case. She'll have $3,000 she taxed out without penalty and without taxes. The $7,000 would be taxed, but no penalty if she's a first-time home buyer. And then she has to file Form 8606 to report her cost basis. So I send her all of this in case she's going to actually do this. But if you're going to take money out, and so the article that led me down this path was that she could take it all out without penalty or taxes because she was a first-time home buyer. And it was wrong. Be careful what you believe. Run it through somebody that knows this stuff, and more than just somebody, because some of these people out there writing articles, the information they're collecting is so thin they don't tell you the whole story, and you could end up in a mess like her owing taxes on $7,000, which I don't know if that matters. I don't know what their tax rate's going to be. And the other thing is, I told her, I said, you have to do it within the tax year. So you have to take this money out and buy the house in the same year. Regardless, you can't take the money out now, go shopping for a house and buy one in January. And they're in that crack everyone is in right now where everybody's trying to buy a house and there aren't any on the market. As soon as a good property comes on the market, it's under contract in 5 days. And so they're running around trying to look at all these houses and work full time. And it's just a mess. So we're just going to sit on it until they find the house, and then we'll take the distribution when we know that there's going to be a closing. Anyways.
Social Security cost of living adjustment 1.3%.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Not much.
No, it's not much at all. 1.3. It's among the lowest. It's among the lowest that it's ever had. 1.3 is smaller than the 1.6 they saw in 2020. This is 2020.
Right. That was the increase for this year.
Oh, for this year. Well, then it's still not past tense.
Okay. Well, their writing is not good.
It would also mark, the 1.3 adjustment would mark the fifth time since 2010 that there has been a small or no increase, said Mary Johnson, Social Security analyst with the Senior League. In 2000, I don't remember this, 2010 and 11 and 16, the COLA was 0.
All right, because you had negative growth.
Yeah. In 2017, it was 0.3%. So, it's better than it's been, but, not much.
Okay. So I want to hear what you think about this. So House Democrats want to break up big tech companies. They're expected to call on Congress to blunt the power of big tech companies, possibly through forced separation of online platforms. They've been investigating, for 15 months, they've been investigating Alphabet, Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. And they've been collecting data on more than 1 million documents from the companies and competitors. Such a law could potentially ban Amazon from competing with sellers on Amazon.com or Google from offering services that consumers look for on its search engine. So I've been thinking about this. So I shop at Kroger. You go to Kroger and you walk down the aisle and you can choose to buy the black beans in the can with the name brand for $1, or you can choose the Kroger brand, which is identical, for 50 cents. So I always buy the cheaper one because it's the same exact thing. Right. Tortillas, everything I buy, I look at the name brand and then I look at the knockoff because I save money most of the time. Once in a while, the name brand will be on sale and so it's cheaper,
right,
and then I can get that. What is the difference between that and this? Walmart has their own branded stuff. Target has their own brands of stuff. Everyone is doing this. Everyone is looking at what people buy and how they can have their own that's cheaper and sell more.
And what's wrong with that?
And so we eat these low carb tortillas that I get at Kroger, or actually buy them at Sam's because they're half price, and make quesadillas. That's like an emergency dinner thing. And so I was standing there one day at Kroger, and the guy was stocking the shelves with the tortillas, and I asked him about it. I said, I don't understand how you work for this company, Mission, and you're loading all these tortillas on the shelf that cost $5, and right next to it on the shelf is Kroger brand for $2.50. I do not understand this. I said, it's everywhere. I said, he goes, we make both. We make the one with the Mission label and we make the one with the Kroger label, and they're almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But there's no branding. There's no advertising for the Kroger one, so it's cheaper. He said, this is just how it is. That's their business. They're doing the same thing. How can you go after Amazon if everybody else is already doing the same thing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
I mean, because you know the story, Amazon tracks what everybody buys,
Right.
and then they go out and they create it themselves and then undercut their sellers.
Yeah.
So,
Which is fine.
I mean, that's how capitalism works.
Yeah.
You come up with a better idea at a cheaper price and you make money.
Yeah.
So I don't understand this breaking up them for this reason. I don't see it going anywhere. They want to boost the budgets of U.S. antitrust enforcement agencies. Let's see here.
Because they're still offering lower prices on stuff and free shipping and stuff like that
Right.
from Amazon.
Right.
So it's not like they're stealing money from anybody.
They're just stealing the market share of whatever they
It's
produce.
not against the law.
Right. Any proposal to separate big tech platforms businesses would face stiff opposition from the industry. Jeff Bezos was at a committee hearing on July 29th, said he doesn't believe it is a conflict of interest for Amazon to sell products on the e-marketplace it controls. The consumer is the one who ultimately makes the decisions. They're making the decision about what to buy, what price to buy it at, and who to buy it from.
That's true.
One feature dominant to digital platforms is that they have integrated across business lines, such as that they both operate a platform and market their own goods and services on it. This structure places dominant platforms in direct competition with some of the businesses that depend on them, blah, blah, blah. I just, I don't get it. But if you want to really, you want to read a good book that really, it's fictional. It was written by a woman who defected from the Soviet Union, and Ayn Rand. You should read Atlas Shrugged, because the whole storyline of Atlas Shrugged is you got 12 bureaucrats in a room that don't like a guy who runs a steel mill or whatever. And they're like, that's not fair that he has all the business and he's making all the money. So let's tax him into the dirt and take that money and support this other goofball over here that wants the same business. He thinks it's not fair. It's not fair that he can't grow a business to be successful while this other guy's like super successful and making a lot of money because he actually knows what he's doing. And so they do this to businesses across the country, and they destroy entire industries, entire sectors, pounding on them and taking money from the profitable and handing it to the unprofitable so they can be more competitive. It doesn't work. It didn't work back in the day, and it won't work today.
That's Robin Hood.
Yes.
Steal from the rich and give to the poor.
It's just ridiculous. So, and then on the flip side of all of that...
Not Robin Hood, the stock people.
Yeah, not the trading
not the
platform.
Yeah, not them. This is the real Robin Hood, the real live Robin Hood.
So meanwhile, in this magazine I get, you've got these people who have used the pandemic as an opportunity to start a business. This lady is making $150 an hour helping people launch podcasts, which are going off the charts right now because everybody's doing everything online. This lady was enjoying walking with friends all week long, so her husband told her that she should start some kind of account. And so she paid a developer to create an app. And so people are subscribing to her apps to have virtual classes, everyday walking, treadmill walking, walking meditations, and stretching. And they can join virtual teams and add their miles up and have competitions. $16 a month. People are paying to be on an app to get them out walking. I would have never dreamed that someone could make money. She's making 6 figures a year from this app.
Wow.
Right. And then this last one makes total sense. This lady was a corporate trainer. Well, everybody's been sent home, so she does virtual online team building events. Last year, her company made $2 million in sales. She makes 6 figures, and she does everything like virtual escape rooms, virtual game shows, murder mysteries, high-tech treasure hunts, and it makes it fun for everybody to engage with each other as they're running around looking for stuff, I guess on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. There's people that are using this as an opportunity to make more money and create something that's theirs. So what are we going to do about those people? It's not fair that they were smart.
I know, that's not fair.
It's not fair that they're smart and they're getting wealthy out of something that they cooked out of their own brain. So we need to punish those people. It was ridiculous. What do you got?
No, I'm looking for the name of that show, the streaming, the Netflix thing on the computers, on the internet and stuff. What was it that we watched on network?
Okay, there's dead air.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for it.
All right, so while you're talking, did you get your $200 in Medicare for your prescription drugs yet? Have you received that?
Not that I know of.
Okay. He promised that this was 2 weeks ago. No, actually, it was just a week ago. He promised the $200 discount cards to people on Medicare. Said they would go out in the next couple of weeks, and you can use them for copays. I haven't seen anybody who's received theirs, so that must still be in the works. So there is a senior housing project going up, and probably stuck in the permit problems right now. I don't know how the construction's going along, but Alexander Fort Elementary School, which was built in 1932, is becoming a high-level, high-end senior housing development. They have $12.5 million for renovation and new construction, and it's in the process. And so I had a client who heard about this, and he wants to get on the list to be somebody that could be on the ground floor of this thing because he thinks he would like to live there, and it's off Vineville. And so the Macon Historic Foundation is partnering with everybody to make this thing happen. And I've got the address and the email for the guy that's the developer that's over the project. If you're interested in learning more about it, I tried Google searching to see if there was any update, and I couldn't find any update online. But if you're thinking about downsizing into senior housing, this is another option that's just under construction. That to my client says that he said it's going to be phenomenal, and he wants to live there.
Really?
Yeah, he wants to downsize. He lives in the Gables, man. That's pretty expensive. I think it's up to $2,700 a month.
Really?
And they do everything for you, but that's just a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
It's very nice, and they maintain. I mean, they change your light bulbs for you. They go up in your attic and pull your Christmas tree down for you. They do everything.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a community room where they were doing socials and events and things, which that's been on hold. But it's just a beautiful place. But it's a lot, and it's a house. It's a standalone house, and he would like to just be in something where he has less stuff. So I don't know what the prices are going to be for that senior housing place. Anywho.
Well, I'm getting nowhere.
Okay. So what's that? What else you got?
What else I got? Let's see.
So California's rolling blackouts this summer were caused by decades of costly and poorly planned decisions to replace coal, nuclear, and gas-powered plants with solar and wind, according to some energy experts. California banned the construction of new reactors in 1976. Policymakers also started closing natural gas plants because they produce more CO2 emissions than wind and solar, ignoring warnings that doing so would lead to energy shortages. This Wednesday, last week, the Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order asking the state legislature to ban fracking oil and gas, the latter of which provided a majority of the state's energy during the recent blackout. One additional factor is that as California has increased its reliance on renewable energy, it has also become increasingly reliant on energy imported from neighboring states, which makes no sense. He says that storing a barrel of oil's worth of energy in a battery costs at least 100 times as much as storing the oil that it would take 1,000 years for the world's largest battery factory to produce enough to store 2 days' worth, blah, blah, blah. So he wants to have only electric cars. Did you see that?
No, but there was something else that I was reading about. There's a lot of companies that are involved now in electric cars, and a lot of them are publicly held companies. And it's getting huge to the extent of what they can do and how far they can go and all this other kind of stuff. And then the self-driving cars, which will be there.
Right.
Which would be safer than regular people driving cars, is just having self-driving cars. Well, I think it probably would.
Yeah. I'll let you go through the 75-16 split first.
Yeah, we're going to give it a shot.
So drivers throughout the U.S. may want to start a rainy day car fund in the wake of California Gavin Newsom's climate change-focused ban on sales of new gas-powered autos beginning in 2035.
Well, that's a long way away.
It is a long way away.
But it's going to happen everywhere. It's going to happen, and I was watching a thing from an analyst who's a really smart guy, and he says He says that the electric cars are going to be faster, can be faster than regular cars, and a lot cheaper and a lot safer.
Not
and
yet.
Drivers, they will be.
Well,
I mean, it's capacity and stuff like
Right.
that. And everybody now, it's like Tesla. The stock has gone crazy, for a company that's not making any money.
right. So the cost of new cars across the country could rise materially in the years leading up to the ban. In order to offset higher outlays from ramped up electric vehicle production to meet California's new ban, consumers will have to bear the financial burden up front. If automakers have to produce electric vehicles, they have to pay those carbon credits, which sometime in the past they were buying from Tesla. That all gets figured into the price that you pay, somewhere around $2,500 a car now. And so he's talking about this ban. California shouldn't have to worry if your cars are giving your kids... Oh, here's what Gavin Newsom said. Californians shouldn't have to worry if our cars are giving our kids asthma. Our cars shouldn't make wildfires worse and create more days filled with smoky air. Cars shouldn't melt glaciers or raise sea levels, threatening our cherished beaches and coastlines.
And somebody should cut California off and let it fall into the ocean.
So here's the punchline.
Although it's beautiful.
Let me see here. It could be, let me see, a large group of people could own vehicles out of state. You can buy them in other states and have licenses in Montana or Maine or Nevada and then still live in California. So there's
really?
a workaround.
Wow.
I'd never heard of this in my
No.
life. I didn't know you could do that. And I guess you register it in the other state.
So somebody passed a law somewhere.
It's to give people an out. So there'll be a lot of people driving to Montana or probably Nevada would be closer. They're driving to Nevada and getting a car there and then driving back to California with it.
Just drive out the desert, get it, and come right back. Yeah.
So, anyhow, see, if he doesn't want you to be able to buy them there. So every time a government creates a rule like this, everyone's going to scuttle to make a workaround. And the states closest to California will probably all pass these laws so that people will come buy cars from their states. That's how this works. You can't. This guy is crazy to think that he can. I don't know. Anywho, change the subject.
So anyway, a lot of people, again, people are always getting Social Security age and trying to decide what to do and take it out and all this kind of stuff. And so, this article is that don't let these myths on Social Security trip you up. Number one, benefit cuts for older workers are imminent. The economic downturn provided by the pandemic has not spared Social Security. The program could run out of funds sooner than had been projected, according to recent estimates, as soon as 2028 or 2032. Notably, the system will still be able to pay benefits when that happens, though they will likely be reduced. Many prospective retirees might be tempted to start their money early for fear that the money could go away, but it's not going to go away. And so you have to look at what the benefit is. So just kind of give you an idea. If your full retirement age, which is now 67, if your benefit is $1,000 a month, if you start at 62, you'll only get $700 a month, and that's for life. If you start at 65, you'll get $800 and some dollars a month. If you wait till full retirement age, which is 70, you get $1,240 a month. And so you're going to have a lot more money, assuming that you'll live a normal life expectancy. And so you really have to look at this thing seriously and not just start when you think it's a good time to start. And the worst thing people do is start at 62, because at 62, you can assume you're going to run out of money, because it's just not, with inflation and everything, it's not going to work.
And you can't make over a certain amount. You can't still be working part-time and getting that and get the full amount. It all depends on, there's a cap. And I want to say it's like $14,000 a year. I just looked it up the other day. But if you get Social Security and you earn more than that, then your benefits reduced even further.
So if you can wait till age 70 instead of 62, you'll get 75% more per month.
Wow. Yep.
And that doesn't include inflation-adjusted stuff that'll
every year that you
too.
wait, your benefit goes up by 8%.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said that.
So I just gave the total number. So that's the thing. If you can wait till 70,
So
because here's what people say. People say, well, I wanted 62 because I worked for it. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's in your best interest to take it then. And other people say, well, if I wait till 70, I might die at 72. I say, well, you'll be dead. You won't even know, I think.
The one case I've seen that made sense is I had a guy who was a widow, and he could take his wife's. So he retired at 62 and took his wife's benefit as survivor and then worked part-time and just kept his income under the cap. And then his benefit was going to be much greater than hers, so then he waited until later, and then he flipped over to his own benefit, which was greater.
Yes.
That one made sense.
That makes sense.
But if you ever want to talk to somebody about that, we do. When we do consultations, we talk about this stuff, and we can look at your benefit and look at your income from other investments, look at your debt, all of that stuff, your cash flow, and talk to you about making good choices. It doesn't cost anything to come and see us.
Yeah.
You just call the office at 922-8100, and that is a 478 number.
And if you want, we do financial plans for you, do projections for Social Security and income and stuff like that, and kind of give you an idea of how you stand. So give us a call. You can find us on the web at retirerelax.com. We have offices in Warner Robins, and we have an office across from River Crossing in Macon. And
lots of special reports that are free on our website,
and new ones coming on all the time. Are you working on any?
I'm not working on anything right now. My next thing is to get the Lifebook PDF'd by Randy. That's my next thing, because I think that will be very helpful.
Fillable thing.
Yeah, that needs to get done. Should have already been done. But now I'm not working on anything. The latest one was that I did was what we learned from the pandemic, which if you haven't read that, it's pretty decent because people were not prepared for the shutdown. They were not prepared financially. They weren't prepared in their household, and a lot of people were caught short. And the one that's really the painful one, I was talking to someone the other night. She works full-time and has a kid with no daycare, and so has had to form a consortium with other parents to all share schooling. So, have a great weekend.
And we'll see you. I won't be here next week.
Oh.
I'll be at the beach.
Okay.
The views expressed on the show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.